Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. I hope you've had a great week. I hope you're leading your own way. If you're not sure where to begin, this is the podcast. It's the perfect podcast to come to if you're not too sure. And if you do know, great. Share these stories with other people because I guarantee there are people around in your life that will need it. And today's guest, Emma Boardman, all the way from Mallorca. Love her. We've been speaking online for some time now and we made it happen tonight. And I'm so excited, so excited to share with you. Emma traded the shores of Dorset back in the UK for the sun-drenched streets of Mallorca, a beautiful place I used to go to as a child, actually, fun enough. Living in Britain, that was our typical British holiday. You know, the question that we need to ask you, though, because this is what it's all about, when you choose audacity over comfort and authenticity over approval, that's what it's all about, this episode. She's absolutely amazing. Today's guest, Emma, didn't just move the countries though. She rewrote her entire story. From the stage lights of performing arts to the boardroom, from navigating motherhood to discovering profound truths about herself, Emma Boardman has lived 1,000 lives in just one. She faced family chaos, career pivots, and the unexpected challenge of realizing she was deaf in an industry built on sound. Yet through it all, she's emerged with a philosophy that both fierce and freeing. Live audaciously. I can't even say that word. Audaciously. Protect your energy and never apologize for becoming who you're meant to be. This is Emma's journey from small town England to Mediterranean magic. And trust me, you will want to hear every word. Here's Emma and myself. Here's the introduction. Tune in and please press subscribe, please follow the channel and please give us a review where possible. Anyway, put that stuff to the side. Here's Emma Boardman for today's episode, part 1 of part 2. Enjoy. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Emma Boardman, welcome to Leading Our Own Way, all the way from Mallorca. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. I'm really happy that we're finally talking because we chatted a long time ago and you were very sweet coming in with, "You still good? You still good?" I'm like, yeah, I stick to my word. I have to be half dead to not stick to my word. And so here we are.
Here we are. Yes, I feel like I've known you for quite a while, even though we've never physically met.
We've done well there.
We have. You randomly somehow, and I don't even recall how, popped up on my Instagram page. Maybe it was meant to be, I don't know. And it looked very interesting. So I started following you, and here we are. And now I actually forget the root cause of how we created this path, but it was obviously a very interesting path, and we've landed here tonight in the middle of October.
I think that's the beautiful thing about sometimes we go into rabbit holes, don't we, on Instagram, and sometimes it can end up not so pretty. But a lot of the time, I find myself seeing people that I would never in a million years have got to see had I not been on that little scroll session. So
yes,
I think that some scrolls are worth the scroll for sure.
Absolutely. Well, as people listening will be able to tell, even though we've got quite different accents from outside of England, people will probably figure out that we're from the same country. Whereabouts are you from originally?
So I'm from Dorset.
Dorset.
Poole in Dorset, little
Lovely.
Country girl. And I left for London when I was 18 and never really returned apart from to make visits and to see people. But I think I've redefined my home wherever I wanted to put myself.
Yeah, good. And
so,
why did you leave Dorset for London then, back then?
Well, I think anyone growing up in a smallish town, you're either one of two people who wants to get the hell out, or you're just going to stay there, have babies, work for the same company for whatever. And I was not that kind of person. I really was so curious about what possibilities were in the world for me, and I wanted to try everything, and I knew that wasn't going to happen in my hometown. I wanted to get somewhere where I could be free to reinvent and explore and be not kept in the little box of the safety of that was never appealing to me. I couldn't wait to get away. I think just dreaming for the day I went to stage school and went to live. We were actually in Essex, just outside London, where we trained at Performers College. And it was such a moment of, it's very naive and very, very curious about everything, and partied very hard in those first years to explore what it was all about.
And I'm sure we're going to dig into that a little bit in the episode today. I'm sure, I'm very positive, because you've had a very interesting life. But going to Mallorca, how long have you lived in Mallorca then? Because we were just saying before we press record, how British holidays were, because I've been to Santa Ponta in Mallorca like 5 times, but you're not anywhere near there, right? You're living a little bit more of a different life to avoid that Britishness, let's say.
I mean, there are still a very few British people scattered all over now, but I live up in Valdemossa. But the question you asked before is why Mallorca and how Mallorca, right? And so after leaving dance college, I went straight into London and had a very interesting career in TV, film, commercials. Very fun until I was 27. I mean, that's a wild story, all of its own. The many experiences I had then. But I retired from performing at 27 because I discovered I was deaf. Live on when I was actually doing a screen test for a major broadcaster, and that was a big turning point for me when I wasn't ready to be the deaf girl in that quite brutal industry. It's very judgmental. It's very harsh. It's all about what you're not rather than what you are. And there was no way. I remember not being able to do my job when they put full talk back in my ear, and then bumbling through I was interviewing Ryan Giggs in the studio, and legend of legends. I'm not even interested in football either. It was just a continuation from my sporting beginnings to give her a football show. That's kind of how the industry tends to operate. But that became the end of my performing blonde days, or at least my performing blonde era of my 20s, when I said, I don't want to show up. And I needed hearing aids in both ears. That was so embarrassing to me at 27. I just went into business instead, retired my agent. This game is over for me. So I spent 25 years from then on in business, creating brands and companies, not wanting to put myself in the front line. And that's the interesting part of it. I turned 51 this year, and I'm ready to step back out to continue the journey of being a performer of sorts. But at 51, having pretended not to be a performer for a very long time. So it's a very interesting phase of everything. So I basically had met my husband, my first husband. We have number 2 now. And we were living in Weybridge in Surrey, and I had a beautiful baby boy. And I just got a little bit disillusioned by the UK and suburban life. And again, had the same feeling of how I wanted to break out of my hometown. It was the same feeling as there's more. There must be more than just what car you drive and how many bedrooms your house has, and are you having a swimming pool put in or not? And I just found the general air a little bit superficial, and it was driving me crazy. So I said, while Luca, our son, is 2.5, can we have an adventure? Can we just see what else there is? He doesn't need to be in school till he's 5. So Mallorca came up for both of us, and that's how I ended up getting here. Now, 7 years ago, I called an end to that marriage, and that enabled me to really lean into what Mallorca can bring. Mallorca can bring you back to a quieter sense of yourself, especially where we live in the mountains of Valdemossa. It's very peaceful. It's very beautiful, surrounded by nature. I mean, the view, I'll take a photo of the view and send to you afterwards so you see what I'm seeing right now. It's insanely beautiful. And it teaches you to breathe and slow down and all the stuff that we hear all the time. They get out in nature. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. Well, surrounding yourself by it and in it has been game changing for me. And that's what brought me to write my philosophy, because I no longer wanted to get caught up in all the bullshit that I had experienced, and as have you and many others. And I thought there was more. So I found my more, and I stayed. And my son is now 13, coming to 14, and he lives with his dad in England now. So that really is beautiful. He's getting a relationship with his father, which I think is so important for a boy to have, find their way, especially through the teenage years. And I'm really happy that I'm able to find my feet, and they're able to really secure a beautiful relationship. So it's worked out well. And I remarried. Well, we've been together 5 years now, so we're just back from Vegas getting officially legally married. So that's another reason,
Wow.
probably in a tailspin.
Very cool. No, I mean, that's it's very important that, because there's a lot of people who are probably listening, and I do feel the majority of people are kind of living, programmed, or they're quite we're all living a very stressful life, a very inflamed life, where everyone's inflamed, everyone's living in that program world, and the stress levels are high. So you even just having that part of your conversation is going to give hope to people going, how can I do this? How can I find hope? How can I look to where I even begin my journey? Can I actually leave my hometown? Well, we have choices, don't we? And we can certainly make those choices if somehow we find a way, right? And you did, and I love hearing that. But we start usually here on the podcast of, the title's called Leading Our Own Way. Tell us a little bit about, you just mentioned you've spent the last few months since we've spoken finding a bit more of a creative way. You've just explained something about a philosophy. Tell us a little bit of how you consider to be leading your own way.
Well, I think I've always been an outlier anyway from the very beginning. So there was never any way than my own way, but I wasn't as free as I am now, because there were many years when I had to play the game to, and I think years of shape shifting into shapes that other people expected me to be, like many of us are doing still. And so I think, to give you the starting point for it, I 5 years ago I put down my business that had been my business of 10 years. Beautiful. I wrote a new way for children and babies to learn foreign languages through a program which Amazon ended up buying, and it was complicated and big, and I created a world of learning, a world of IP, and it was a great experience. I wasn't feeling so aligned with my investors, which was a big lesson to learn, because I see these companies hungry for moving forward and funding and everything else. And I felt I feel very cautious about that part that needs to be really in the right way, because everyone's all smiles and believing and aligned seemingly at the beginning, but things start to show, don't they? And so COVID, unfortunately, became a time to close that company. And that left me with, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I'm still teeming with ideas and very inspired, but I didn't want to do anything and go back to business as usual.
Yeah.
And I think I remember somebody behaving appallingly in one of the companies, and I was so shocked that that's how somebody would behave. And someone just said, "It's just business, darling." And I was like, not on my watch, not anymore.
No.
So I really stepped away, and I can get things moving quite fast. So I was conscious not to run too quickly into anything new, and really took the time to dig deeply into what value can I bring. I was running around asking myself, what's the point of me? What is the point? That, like, what is in, and it's feeling like I think I'd lived many lives, many chapters, many reinventions. And I went back and I revisited all of them. And I realized there's so much wisdom in every single era, that how about if I scoop all of that learning and all of that training and turn her on to becoming super me. Like, rather than creating another brand over there, leaning over there, I produce, present, create, like style, design. How about I just create a super version of myself? That sounded quite radical and quite random and maybe slightly egoic. I
Love
was
it.
like, rather than, because I said, when I create a company that involves other people to have to step in and run it, and then I become the person dealing with too many things and not necessarily playing in my superpower.
Yeah.
We
Focusing
just
on one thing, maybe.
all of that and
Yeah.
become all of it. So I firstly needed to heal. I needed to calm the fuck down. I needed to be still and quiet. And it was painful. I remember finding myself in tears in the pantry. We got like an old 100-year-old house and just feeling so broken and so confused about, but if you take everything away, what is there? How can we do it in a completely different way? And I was lucky to have amazing support from my now husband. And he was very patient. And he's like, don't rush anything. And so I started writing. I did Julia Cameron's Artist Way. And that was a big breakthrough in rediscovering confidence in my artist, confidence in my creativity. I've always been very artistic, but I never felt confident to be an artist because I was not told I was good at it at school, that age-old thing of we had some really strong art guys in the class and I always felt a bit rubbish. So I never wanted or thought I could identify as an artist, but I'm now realizing people actually want my art and I'm finding it really funny.
You seem like and look very, very creative to me, that's for sure, and artistic.
This is the thing, and I have been embarrassed for almost, I think, because I've done so many things. I was like, oh gosh, she's an artist now, really. And that was the bit that I was struggling with. So to take time out and not to worry or not to care, there was no expectations, there was no team, there was no staff, there was no investors. It was just me and my little room. And I started writing. I did my morning pages every morning and getting through books. Some mornings I would write half of a notebook, like pages and pages and pages. And other mornings it would just be a little comment. And the compound interest of showing up every morning, lighting a candle, settling into my own world without scrolling down rabbit holes or losing. Because I think we have everything we need inside us, but we're so distracted.
Oh, big time.
And we are so pulled in so many directions, and it's so difficult to learn what to pay attention to and what not to. Being up here away from commercial influences, billboards, no noise, no sirens, no people. I can see no people for ages. And going really, really deeply into yourself is the first key to anything. And, I think I see a lot of selling of the dream, the elusive dream, the thing is out there. Nothing's out there. It's here. We just need to turn off the noise and come home to ourselves and have the confidence in pulling the brilliance out of us. So basically went on a mission to discover how I could show up most brilliantly in the world and inspire others to do the same, because I wasn't obviously thinking that other people are going to want to do this at the time. I was thinking, I just want to feel clear and creative and confident in whatever I want to show up and do next. So I started creating rituals for myself in the morning. Now I've had a lot of spiritual influence here on this island. There's a lot of people doing shamanic work and breath work and healings, and it's quite loaded with spiritual and holistic healers. So I've had a taste and an opportunity to step in and try all kinds of strange things in teepees. and a lot of it's been really, really bizarre. But at the same time, I think there's something ancient and primal about a lot of this stuff. And I think the more it's the coming home to the roots. And I'm not short of my own levels of trauma. So there's been an awful lot before you can even feel in the bliss that I feel today, there's a lot to identify and deal with and heal and overcome. And it's layers and layers and layers.
Of course.
Of stuff. So it's been a 5-year journey of, and interestingly, I've had various micro companies that I almost went with but didn't along the way with different partners. It's like I was obviously vibrating in this thing. I had a company called Kiss Kiss Bang, which was an art brand. That was where my artist wanted to come, but it was too soon for my artist to come out at that point. I needed to get more foundation. Then I had the Original Thinkers Club, and that's where I wanted to bring in, invite masterminds. And again, it's what I wanted to surround myself with. But again, the partnership there didn't quite work out. Then it was like me back. So all of these things had layered into the thinking, but they weren't the thing. I have the Sister Table. It's a female community, which I inherited 3 years ago and started realizing how women still were not confident enough at speaking their big stuff out loud and being celebrated for it. And I saw there was a big missing space. So started working on stuff with them, helping the women, as I was finding my voice, also find their own. And so the Sister Table is becoming something now. It's really, I've just come back and hosted my first one for a long time on Friday, putting all the new energy and focus into it. And that's a beautiful thing when we give ourselves because it's scary stepping away from everything you know and everything you've ever done, because you think, I'm going to become insignificant and people are going to forget about me. Like disappearing, you feel like the world's going to just be in another place when you get back to it, and actually doesn't go anywhere, does it? Nothing's really that different. And when you come, but the interesting thing is you come back with a completely fresh perspective. And it's like when I looked at your stuff yesterday again, have you changed a lot since we last spoke? Because it looked phenomenally different, and I don't know if it was me shifting or you've upgraded.
What looked different to you then?
Just the layout, your content. There's lots of purpley stuff in your purple brand, but just the messaging, the power, the energy felt.
I've never changed, and we've discussed this on the podcast because this is very important topics. I've not really changed the front cover. I've not changed the studio apart from adding books or anything to do with my guests that send me to display and help support them and promote them. For example, I've got a couple of books that my guests have done, so I'll promote them and I'll highlight them and stuff. The only thing I've recently changed, probably more on my social media, I'm just testing like the display to make the brand pop a little bit more. But in the sense of changing what was always the original, no. Have I changed how it appears maybe on social media? Yes, but the background raw, what's been there from the beginning hasn't changed. I'm just, I suppose, testing what the display might look like on Instagram, for example. And I've really never really focused on the thumbnails for YouTube, but I've really wanted to learn more about Canva and making the thumbnails and making them more dramatic, because everyone out there goes, you've got to focus on the thumbnails to make people pull in. I put a quote and I make sure I put a picture of the guest, and I just had it plain with black and just kept it simple. But I've started to put a little bit more of effects in there, and I've had some good feedback from that saying how amazing it looks, but I am not a pro. So I've just been exploring with that. I would say that's the only real change.
Finding your own identity. It was just interesting because I know I've had a big upgrade, especially in the last months where everything's kind of fallen into place. So when you go into deep creative development mode, there's that scary point, which I'm going through literally in real time right now, when you have to crawl out of the creative hole and live it in real life. And there's such a transition, especially the depth of where I went. I ended up writing a new philosophy for
I want to know about this, yes.
More beautifully, more blissfully in how we lead, how we live, how we love. And it's a spectrum to keep, it was firstly to keep me on track. Now, there's a tool which I have created, which is in very basic handwritten form at the moment. We're working on how it will be digitalized and made as something that other people can hold in their hand. But it's called the Audacious Dial. Now, audacious is my word. I think it's such a beautiful, audacity. I do use that in places, but audacity's hard, and audacity has bad PR. A lot of people think the audacity of him walking
Yeah.
in and doing that. I think it's been used not always in the most positive way, but I think audacious feels gracious. And I also want to show up in the world in my feminine, but not trying to be a man to make things happen. I think when women turn their powerful feminine energy up full and they go into their intuition and their creativity, and that's a whole different level of power. And that's the thing I aim to embody, and also encourage the women, because in the sister table, to also follow this way, because we don't burn out so much when we're naturally in our feminine essence. When we're trying to be men and we're trying to keep going and power through, and we can't do that, especially middle age. You've got the whole big menopause thing going on. We need to be more gentle with ourselves, and we don't have the same makeup as you guys. And so learning to manage that as well out of a male orientated corporate environment where it was all men in the boardroom.
Yes, back in the day, yeah.
Throughout my life, I have had many situations where I've held back through fear, through worry of judgment, through thinking what people might say when I do the thing. I call that being not audacious enough.
Mm. I feel you on that. I went
say
through
this
that.
on stage, you just see people shaking their head, remembering the time they've let themselves down because they had this external, silly, limiting belief that they just couldn't step through that thing. So they ended up disappointing themselves rather than others because they were too worried. So not audacious enough. I've been there in my first marriage. The thing went a bit, I didn't feel I could be who I wanted to be, which is why I left. Then we have the other end of the spectrum, darling, which is called oops, too audacious.
I love this.
Everybody's been there too, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
When we're flexing in ego, not in our authenticity. When we're gossiping, when we're trying too hard, when you're trying to be seen, you're trying to be important, you're trying to be special, it lands so badly, and you can feel when you've been oops too audacious. And I'm still swing between the spectrums, but what we're aiming for is A-class audacious.
Oh,
This
look
is
at
the
that.
middle of the dial.
Oh, I
This
love that.
is where
Yeah,
we
wow.
protect our energy, we're firm in our boundaries, we're speaking our truth, and we're walking and talking our A-class audacious self.
You'll have to send me a copy of that so I can put it on display on
I
the whole
will, darling.
screen.
It's
Yes.
literally, this is hot conversation today because I'm dropping all my new concepts which haven't yet been discussed with anybody outside of my core team.
Premiering here on Leading Our Own Way. Thank you very much, Emma.
And there's a couple of other things I want to share in the practices that I developed, which are also great concepts, which I will be rolling out.
Beautiful.
Just so the audacious way, this is the audacious dial. This is where it teaches self-awareness. It teaches that we all have a range. We all have the capacity to be not audacious enough and oops, too audacious. And understanding where we are. I encourage everyone I work with to check in every day. Where am I today? I'm going to do this meeting. What's my energy? Am I feeling like I'm faking it? Am I feeling like I'm holding back? Am I going to be confident to say the thing I want to say? Have I grounded myself? And it's a beautiful practice which I made up for myself, and it works because
Oh, I love it. Is the oops too the other side oops too audacious? Is that kind of suppose equivalent to being arrogant?
exactly, it's pushing too hard, hustling like it's the 90s.
Yeah, well, it's weird because I teach kids about confidence, and and people say there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. You hear that all the time, but I heard a definition of confidence somewhere, and I can't remember where it was now. So it's a quote unquote, but I teach people about how confidence is the ability to see yourself as a flawed person, but still hold yourself in high regard. To me, that is pure confidence. And when you say that in that way, there's a clear cut between confidence and arrogance, because all you need to do is take away one line, and that's see yourself as a flawed person. Just put yourself in high regard is pure arrogance. But if you do both, it's complete 100% confidence, isn't it? Seeing yourself as a flawed person, but still hold yourself in high regard. I love that.
It's made to look ridiculously simple, but it's basically encouraging people to know where their zone of pure potentiality is. When we can do our best work, our best thing, we're not draining ourselves, we're not forcing, we're not hustling, but we're also not holding back and holding us small. That's not healthy either.
My logo, I've never told anybody this, and I was kind of hoping as the year and a half has passed, no one's noticed, and so maybe people have not looked deep enough, but let me bring it out for you.
Please show me.
You'll have seen it online, no doubt, and it's a bit clearer on the other one, but now I brought it a bit forward. So it's me walking down a road. I've always had a fascination with roads like in the sense of
your album.
Say again.
It looks like your album cover.
It does, yeah. Well, it is the front cover of the podcast, but I know what you mean. It does look like a musical front cover, but there is stories, and I write this on Substack, and I know you mentioned Substack to me. I wrote about why it's LOW and the present tense of leading. Me walking down the street, when I was backpacking around the world, I used to stand in the middle of the road and take beautiful pictures of scenery around Australia and New Zealand and have them symmetrical, so the road was in the middle and the lines and the sun reflecting off the ocean and things like that. I loved it. I always picked roads with symbolism of, you can go anywhere, you can lead yourself anywhere on this planet by going down any road. You're not lost on this planet, but go deeper than that. Can you see the lines here? That on the artwork on Canva, I put a piece of wood underneath it, so it's behind me, and that basically means you've broken past the wall, the fence line that people get stuck on. So it's weird that we're bringing this up, because I feel like this symbolizes me or other people. Yeah, we've got past
into your own.
That's right. Yeah, no one's ever noticed that, but that's really what it stands for.
It's beautiful, darling, and I think it is. There's an invisible veil that stands in front of us, which is made up of all our historical limiting stuff that has been piled on us, stuff people have told us. The amount of times I've had, who do you think you are? And, and you can't help but internalize that. And if you don't have the equal and opposite person giving you positive feedback, however confident you feel in yourself, there are times when you start, am I going crazy thinking I can live this bigger version of me, which I can feel and I can see, but it doesn't seem to be validated around me right now? And this is what I've managed to do, like turn myself up bit by bit. It helped last year when I turned 50. I got the testosterone implant. I was a nightmare for 6 months. I was an absolute nightmare. I thought I'd turned lesbian. I was so attracted to everybody. I was like,
hope your husband doesn't listen to this.
I'm still happily married to my husband.
Okay, good.
But
I like him.
It gave me a surge. I called myself Boardman, just Boardman, for 6 months, and it was very interesting to see how men reacted when I'd introduced myself as Boardman.
Oh,
I'd be like,
I'd just be shocked.
And Boardman is still my kind of brand name, my personal brand kind of empire, if you know what I mean, because that gives me my alter ego, Sasha Fierce energy.
Is that why when you did a public speaking event, you've just got Boardman on the wall there?
I graphed Boardman on the bottom of my slides.
Love it. Oh yeah, cool.
That's what I mean. So I'm feeding all the elements that I feel that I love, that are part of me, into this one beautiful, I say philosophy product. I speak about it. I've written 2 books on it. I'm looking for the right publisher to work with who gets, because it's games. I've gamified the dial, so it's a board game, and there's so much concept stuff to come through on this thing that I'm literally just stepping out today to share. So there's the audacious way has become, it started off as the practice of audacity. How can I turn up every day and feel like in the morning during my routine, I can turn myself up. So I feel like I'm at maximum audacity to do my day. But then audacity started to feel a bit grating.
Yeah.
Audacious felt more gentle, more feminine, and more gracious. And that's the energy that I want to feel. I don't want to feel like I'm hustling or fighting or pushing or forcing, because that turns into too audacious and it exhausts us.
Yeah. Burnout. Yeah. Yeah.
And
With
I'm trying to find the balance still every day between all of the new opportunities that are suddenly coming in, and life has just suddenly gone from being in my dreamy creative world. It's like boom, 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 it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've manifested it and made it happen, haven't you, as well? Just going back to the point where you said you dialed yourself up and you've built yourself up. Did you ever find people who were close to you or friends, family drop off because you've turned yourself up as well?
That, my darling, is a very good question. I have my mother's she's what's the word?
Be careful here, by the way.
Fired me. My mother's fired me from being my mother because of some of the decisions. She disapproves of how I'm living my life. That's on something more controversial. That's something to do with what we see in the background there. But because of some of the decisions I've made, she can no longer accept me. She's never been a fan of my bigness. I start my keynote by saying, go out of the room and come back in like you're no more special than anyone else.
Oh.
That was how she'd speak to me when I was 10-ish.
Oh, wow. And we will, I mean, I'm glad you said that, because we will go back to childhood, but you just said something behind you. You don't have to go into detail, but what is it behind you that you've got a problem with?
So there's a hunting influence. My husband is in the hunting world.
Yeah.
And it's a very controversial thing for many people.
Yeah.
But I learnt to shoot this year, learnt to shoot a rifle and a shotgun.
Got you. And so she's against that.
She's very against it. We only shoot what we eat, or we eat what we shoot. So it actually, as a meat eater, that's the most beautiful way to obtain the healthiest kind of protein. And it's very interesting that people who are alarmed by that have got some work to do, because it is one of the most primal ways for obtaining. I mean, that's a whole nother story in itself. But for that reason, she can no longer have anything to do with me, because she disapproves so strongly of that decision. She liked my husband very much and she knew what he did. But the moment I said, I have an opportunity here, it's opening up my world in another direction, and the power I felt from learning how to use a rifle, that was something else. So,
I mean, look, we have been eating animals for 300,000 years. And we've been, cows have been around. I mean, I think we've been eating cows less longer than they've actually been on the planet, but we've definitely been eating cows for a very, very, very long time. And I think I think we didn't cook them for a long time either. And then we started to come across fire accidentally, and then we started to heat our animals. And that's how our brains got bigger, because we got more calories in the body through heating our meat, believe it or not. I read that anyway. I believe it's true. I'm not an expert, but
it's a very primal thing. There's nothing disrespectful done out of everything that's shot is eaten, or for the community. So that is an interesting symbol, something I've chosen. For 5 years, I ignored that world, because I was told by some people whose opinions I don't really respect anyway, that it would be bad for my career, which was very interesting. And I thought, do you know what? I've got this amazing man, this amazing world. I was ignoring, and it was putting a barrier between us. How about I try it? I would try it. And I went and lent the shotgun in Scotland, 2 days private instruction. Then went to South Africa, lent the rifle in the bush, had the opportunity to take a specific animal. I mean, that's very, very incredibly primal stuff. You can't imagine the feeling. And the people I've met in that world are very down to earth. They understand the cycle of life. And the people who think it's better to go and get a plastic wrapped chicken from the supermarket have got a lot. So I actually will be talking a little bit around later, I'm not later today, later in the year, we'll be launching a new brand with my husband, a lifestyle brand around that world. So I
Wow.
can contain the conversation so it's not scary to people who aren't ready to talk about it.
Mm.
I have a female brand launching called Gunpowder, and I'm going to speak about it, do retreats, do a clothes line like Beautiful in the field. But that's exploring the thing I wanted to do, fashion design, interiors, it's lifestyle stuff and retreats where women get to go out. We have been offered a private island in Denmark for the first one next year.
Amazing.
That's like quite wild and definitely a game-changing experience. And I would host it as the Audacious Way. Now it's time to shoot. Go and get your lunch. Go and get your lunch.
That would be weird for me to take on.
But
Yeah,
I think
I'm not there. I don't know if I could shoot. I mean,
I didn't think I could, Andrew, darling.
yeah,
I genuinely thought, oh, I don't know. I'll just go through the process. And if I'm ever uncomfortable, it was always okay just to say,
yeah,
not for me.
yeah. I mean, look,
And
hey, I eat meat. I love meat. I love a good steak, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not
exactly. So imagine just
vegetarian.
catching your own. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
So because my own mother disowned me for making that decision, nobody can touch me on that subject
have
because
you had?
nothing can hit harder than the abandonment of your
Yeah,
mother and father. Like nothing is worse. And so it's like, I don't mind. I'm untouchable on the subject. That's actually quite freeing in a way.
yeah, yeah. Wow. I mean, if she was listening, what would you say to her today?
If she was listening,
Hmm.
that's a very good question. I hadn't thought about that one. I just think she needs to understand from a different side and a different story around what the thing, but knowing her,
Hmm.
even there's no, some people are so stubborn and so fixed in their thinking that it's like explaining to the people who are fixed on misunderstanding you. And that's been our relationship forever. Everything was, she didn't approve of anything I did. So this actually feels like freedom.
Yeah.
So
Would
honestly, darling, I don't feel like I've even got anything to say anymore.
if she
Obviously,
came back to connect with you, would you?
yeah, I'm open.
Hmm.
I am open.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be the one who closed the door. So I think that's been another reason why things have really started to pick up, because there's no longer energy leakage in
Sure.
me trying to prove something to somebody who is never really going to get it. So
Yeah.
yes, God, I would love to everything to be lovely and you to acknowledge why I do this and why I've made this decision from my perspective. But as long as you're seeing it through your own very limited lens, what can we
Yeah.
say?
So, I mean, I feel this feels like the right time I suppose, talk about your childhood, because it really paints a picture of certain directions that you went in with your own life. You did, before we go there, we'll go into this a little depth later, because morning routines comes up with a lot of my guests, and I'm very interested to hear your morning rituals and routine. But it does feel right, whilst we're in the heat of the moment, talking about your mother. And I am sorry that the relationship went in that direction. But talk to us a little bit about your childhood and about where you grew up in Dorset, and what type of family life you had.
Yeah, it was a very volatile. I had two very passionate parents who were very different. And I think my mother probably needs help managing her herself. I think that she's the victim of feeling like an abandoned child because she had very successful parents who palmed her off to nannies and expensive schools. So you can see, being older, where this, and obviously she used to speak with a lot of pain and frustration about how she never felt like her parents were there for her. So she made a point to be very there for my sister and I, but it was almost psychotically there. We weren't allowed to breathe, really. We were in every kind of activity. They didn't have a lot of money, But everything they had, they put into my sister and I being brilliant at gymnastics, dancing, swimming. So we were like the overachieving children who would train before school, after school, every weekend, sometimes during school. Like I was on an international gymnastic program, like a national squad. So we would train ridiculous hours a week, and that was the kind of focus. So that home life was say volatile. My parents argued all the time, loudly, threw things at each other. I often had to go to A&E because I got something, my head broke from something that they threw at each other, and I'd be going, stop.
Wow.
And that was just normal. It wasn't relaxing. I never knew how my mother would react to anything. So I ended up not telling her anything because it was always it was never a safe place. I don't feel like home was a safe space to relax and be. It was hard work. And I think going to school felt like somewhere I went for a bit of a break. I just remember sitting, looking out the window, being like, I can't wait for all this to be over and I can just be a grown-up doing life my way, because I could see how broken everything was from a very young age. And I think I had to be overly mature because I could see things playing out that weren't okay. The violence, the arguing, the shouting. Some people have even said that's why I went deaf, out of protection.
It's funny you say that, because I was actually going to bring that up in a moment. I was going to say, I was actually going to bring that up later down the track. Well, first off, I was going to ask you, did you have any hearing issues before, or any signs of hearing issues before you were 27?
At that age. I remember being in gym training and them saying that she turns around to get feedback from the coaches when she's midway in the air of a somersault, which is when they realised she's possibly not hearing, because if I like to see people's faces in order to hear them. So I think it started to go. At school, they said she doesn't hear as well as she should. Sit her at the front, which is not a cool move, is it?
I mean, it can be detrimental, can't it? Being made to sit at the table when everyone else is sat on the floor. That can be. People think, oh, we will support the child by putting them there because they'll focus better. But there's a lot of psychological factors that go along with that as well at the side, isn't there? I know. Yeah, that was where I was going to lead to. Maybe subconsciously, that's been affected and become impaired because you're protecting yourself. The body likes to protect itself, even if it means shutting down cells, or obviously in your case, your hearing, right?
I genuinely, my sister needs hearing aids too. Oh. And my father does have hearing aids, but he went deaf with measles, German measles at 6. And no one's really sure like what the thing is. Is it a bit family? Is it thing? It's very murky.
Yeah.
But the point was I didn't feel like home was a safe place where I didn't feel like I got the needs met, in the emotional needs. It was
hugs.
We do everything for you. You put all the money into all of this and you do all of these things and you're like activity to activity to activity, but there's a massive void of safety. And I used to wish to be adopted. Oh, wow. I remember just into a calmer space. I was craving calm and peace and quiet, and I'm really, really very jumpy with shouty, unpredictable people. Even today, people can't manage their emotions very well. Some people are very unregulated.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Are you clear? I saw you went a bit fuzzy for a while.
Oh no, we're all good. You're all good. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. So it was. I just remember it feeling hard work.
Yeah, I mean, did your mum and dad used to hug you at all?
I mean, my dad was quite huggy, and I think I don't remember my mum being that affectionate. She didn't know how to be. I don't think she's not. She's obviously the words. Of course, I love you. Look what we do for you, and I'm like. So I never felt. I don't remember being really hugged.
Yeah.
Like
it makes sense why you moved.
Yeah.
It makes sense why you live in Mallorca as well, for peace and quiet.
I get a hug from nature every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm very needy with my husband.
But he'll
Poor
love it,
man.
I'm sure. I'm sure he'll love it.
Thank
You,
you.
because you were an international gymnast by the age of 16 years old.
Well, I was on the like junior national thing, and I did an international competition once, but it was mainly I was a Southwest champion at 15 of Southwest of England.
Wow.
Um, I wasn't the best. I didn't have the best extension or the best points. I was quite stiff and very strong, but I stayed really small and really strong. So a lot of the ones grew too tall or developed too fast and ended up dropping out because in your body weight ratios everything in gymnastics, and
Yeah.
if you grow too tall suddenly it's very difficult to do your moves and your somersaults and your routines. So I just did well because I hung in there a little bit longer when the ones that were better than me had retired or had to give up. Then I had my glory moment. But I did break my ankle at 16, which cut that. But I was done with it then. I was exhausted I'd been starting that at 2.5 years old. I've been in the gym forever. So I didn't know anything outside of it, but I also knew I'd had enough of being in it as well.
Yeah, of
So then you
course.
go, okay, now what? I need something that's going to utilize this. I didn't want to go to university because that just sounded, because I say not much school excited me. I had a couple of good teachers, but most of it was just like, I didn't really engage with a lot of what I was taught. And like I said, I can remember just sitting looking out the window, having a breather between the madness of the rest of my life.
Yeah. Go to school for some peace and quiet. So it sounds like traditional schooling really wasn't for you, was it?
I
Did
would
did
have
you have a
been,
group of friends, a close group of friends at school, or?
I always had one good friend, like who did everything. I had a very loyal friend. Oh, my first beautiful friend from kind of primary school ended up dying of a brain tumor. This
Oh,
sounds really
terrible.
grim. I know when I think we would just finish brownies and we went into guides, however old that is, like 11 or something,
Yeah.
possibly 10. But I mean, that was a lot too. I had this one little friend and we did everything together and we were inseparable. And then that happened. So I dealt with death of a best friend very early as well.
How old was you
Oh,
there?
10, I think 10 or 11.
She died at a brain tumor at 10.
Yes.
Oh,
Tragic. I
devastating.
know. That was my best friend. She was called Janet, and her parents used to invite me every time I went home to my hometown into their house, and they kept everything the same. Her bedroom, she didn't move any of the toys. It was as though it was a shrine to
Oh,
her. And they'd make me stand in the middle of the room, and they would question me what I was doing, what I liked, what I was eating, like where I went out, and they would just be like, Janet would be doing that now. And
oh.
it was sweet but kind of weird in a way.
Yeah, I can see it from both angles. Yeah.
And they were very religious, very churchy, Christiany. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was deep and dark, and they were heavy people.
Yeah, they'd lost their daughter. I mean, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
No, I
Terrible.
know. And I remember everyone being super kind to me at school and say, it's a big deal. Are you okay? And I'd be like, I felt quite numb to it, weirdly. Like, obviously, it was so weird and so big. I don't think you've even got the words for the emotion at that age.
Yeah. How do you
But
process it as a 10-year-old? Yeah.
I think, so your best friend is taken away from you. I think it made me feel even more independent, even more of an outlier. Like, well, fuck, my family's not safe. My friend isn't safe. Like,
Mm.
and I just think it just made me even more determined to go out and do things my way. I was just on that. Get through this stuff. When you're old enough to actually leave, then you'll be able to do it your way. So I had another friend called Fiona with two F's, and Fiona was my little. She came into my life shortly after Janet had died, and again she was my little sidekick, and she was so good at doing all the naughty things I wanted to do, and I led her totally astray. But she was at
No.
our wedding 2 years ago. We're still in touch, but again living in such different lives. She stayed in the hometown. She's married the guy that she met on her first job when she left university, and she's still working in the same company after uni. Like, I just can't relate to that. But it's funny, isn't it? 'Cause you'd think having a kind of unpredictable start, maybe you'd crave security like that. But I think I knew that my security did not live in that hometown. So then going to London, that was where I gained experience, and a lot of life was lived in London. I saw a lot of things that girls probably shouldn't see, and there wasn't much. As a performing blonde, I remember being flown to Abu Dhabi for a Christmas party for the Prince of Abu Dhabi and dancing over on they built a stage over his pool, and like that was aside from the film and the TV, you were always doing lots of filler jobs as making a buck to survive. But I think seeing London and all that it was, I realized that wasn't again enough. That's not it. And I'd be on like big TV jobs or working on backing dancer for somebody pretty major, and I know I could see the other girls look like this was just everything, and I was kind of, yeah, we're here, we're doing it, but it's never felt like my everything at every stage. So I think that's what keeps me reinventing. It's like I finally have found a peaceful bliss, and it's just beautiful, and that's by being disciplined and devoted to a daily practice that took me away from all of the noise and totally into, I think, not having a safe place. You have to become your own safe place.
Yeah. So when you got the dream of reaching 18 and you felt free and you could make decisions for yourself, was that at the point you left home?
Yeah, so my mum had made me do A-levels before I left for stage school to train to be a professional dancer.
Yeah.
And that felt like a waste of 2 years, but at the same time, it was important growing up. And there's a bit more flexibility with being an A-level student and sixth form. And I think it was probably good I didn't go away at 16, because I was very naive in some ways. It's like I knew what I could see in the world was bullshit. I didn't respect authority from a very young age. And I think seeing my own parents just being ridiculous. The one line that I told my dad, who I still speak to, and he's a sweet man, and he always said, just believe in yourself, kid, just believe in yourself, kid. And probably is something that's kept me going, really.
Yeah.
But
well, you
when
definitely
they
believe in yourself, don't you?
It was shortly after the death of my friend. They were getting a divorce, and I was 11. I remember that because I came home from Brownies or Guides or something, and they stood me and my sister, who's 3 years younger, in the kitchen. And they said, Mummy and Daddy are getting a divorce. Who would you like to live with?
Oh.
And I look at them both and I remember going, Daddy?
Wow, we've come to the end here with Emma Boardman of part 1 on Leading Our Own Way. Emma's story, though, is just getting started. From gymnastics mats to performance stages, from volatile beginnings to finding peace, her path has been anything but ordinary. Oh my Lord. But in part 2, we're diving deeper into the moments that shaped her, the adversity that refined her, and the powerful practices she uses to stay connected to her true self. Plus, you'll hear all about her revolutionary approach to authentic self-expression that's changing how people show up in this world. Don't miss it. Part 2 drops soon. We'll see you then. Don't go away. Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.